So there are two homeworks that is due tonight, which is 2-1 and 2-2. Does anyone have, do you guys have any homework questions with 2-1 and 2-2? Either you can type in the chat room or you can talk to me.
For me, I think it's okay.
How about Panucha? Don't forget, you got two homeworks due on this tonight. Anyone have Sino? Any questions you have for your homework? 2-1 and 2-2, which is due tonight.
For 2-2, I have 12,
Give me a
24.
Give me 1 second. Right. 2.2, you got question what?
12, 24,
27
27, and 28.
2-1, okay.
Oh, for 2-2.
I'm sorry?
For 2-2?
Yep, and 2-1, you okay with it?
Yep, 2-1, I'm okay.
Okay. Panucha, anyone? You guys? All right, so I'm going to look at 2.2 here. Question number 12. We start with number 12. So this is a very difficult one. So very good asking that. So in order for us to do question 12 here, the function in this case is given us by f of x equals to absolute value of x over x. So the first question in this case is asking us to find f2. So f2 means you just substitute x to become 2. So you will get an absolute value of 2 over 2. Anyone know what is that going to be? Anyone?
1.
1, yep. So this is 1. So this answer is 1. Then the next one is f of -2. So you plug all your x to become -2. Now don't forget absolute value of -2. Your answer is 2. But this is still -2 because there's no absolute value in there. So what is that going to give it to you?
-1.
Yep. So what you notice with these two questions is that if this answer is, if your denominator is positive, you always end up with a positive one. Always positive one. Because they will cancel out. But if your denominator end up with a negative, then you always have a negative one. Okay. So this will help us to do part C, f of x minus 2. So what is f of x minus 2 means? Our x will be replaced by x minus 2. Okay, so this is what's going on. And as I mentioned early on, that the denominator plays an important role because if this is a positive, your answer will be +1. If this answer is negative, your denominator is negative, then this is -1. Can someone tell me what number will make your answer, your denominator positive? What x values? If you plug in here, you make them all positive. So what do? We just use our inequality. X minus 2 is greater than 0. Greater than 0 means it's positive. So what happens when you solve for x? You get what? X is greater than 2. So what happened is that when x is greater than 2, means any number that is greater than 2, you plug it in, you get a +1. So, and how do we figure out the -1? How you figure out this is a negative is you solve for x. So, but this time you make it less than 0 because that is negative. So, so in this case, x is less than 2. So that what is telling us that if you put any number that is below 2, your answer is negative. So what happens when you look at this? This is less than. So for less than, this answer will be a -1 if it's below 2. Will be +1 if it's above 2. So this is how we do question C here, which is the most difficult one of those. Sunu, are you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, so make sure when you do this, the denominator is the one that determines the plus or the minus sign. Next is 24. 24 is asking us the area of a square in the functions of a perimeter. So we have a square. So let's say a square have a same side, right? And let's denote this as S. This will be your S, because they're all same sides. Can someone tell me what is the perimeter of this square in terms of S? Anyone? Anucha?
S to the fourth power?
No. We add them.
Okay.
S plus S plus S plus S. What do you get?
4S.
For area is length times width. So what's S times S? This
Square.
Yep, S squared. So what you're going to do here is this question wants us to write area in terms of perimeter. So what you do in this case is you solve for S here. So in this case, P equals to 4S. So in order for us to solve for S, I divide this by 4. So S in this case is P over 4. And what do I do next is I substitute. I take this S P over 4, plug it back inside here. So your area in this case is P over 4 squared. Does anyone know what is P over 4 squared? This is P times P, which is P squared. And 4 times 4 is 16. Now, this is your answer here. Now, when you put down in your answer here, the P that they use here is a capital P. So make sure that when you put in here, you use your capital P. Because if you use your lowercase p, they will mark you wrong. Okay, so make sure you understand this. The P that I'm using here, the answer is P squared over 16, is capital P. So that's the reason why that you have to use a capital P for this case. Otherwise, you get it wrong. Next, 27. Now, those students who want to figure out what is coming out in your test, your midterm, I can tell you that 27 is coming out in your midterm. So for you guys, make sure you guys know how to do this question because it is coming out. And in your midterm, I don't use power 3 because power 3 this is power 3, right, in 27. In the midterm test, I usually do power 2. What is this question want us to do is they want us to figure out what is the what we call difference of quotient for this case. Okay, so the first thing you need to figure out the difference of quotient is to take this, figure out what is this follow means. So what is fx plus h means? Anyone know what fx plus h means? What's the F? If I say F3, what's F3 means? I substitute all this x to become 3, right? So what is fx plus h means? Fx plus h means that I will substitute all the x, as I put them in parentheses. So all these x will be replaced by x plus h. So the first thing we need to do here is we have to perform this first. This is the horrible one. Does anyone know how to do 3 times x plus h cubed? orders of operation, you have to do the cube first. So this is the same thing as x plus h times x plus h times x plus h, that's cube. And then after that, you have to multiply everything by 3. So what you need to do here is you have to FOIL this fellow out. And then once you finish foiling, you multiply this with x plus h. So go ahead and FOIL. You guys know how to FOIL, right? FOIL this fellow out. Andrew, Panucha, Sinu, you have to FOIL x plus h and x plus h. What you get? Again, this is coming up in your midterm, but this is not in cube, this is in square. Square is easier because you didn't do a lot of work here. Cube is hard. Anyone got what's the FOIL for this? Hmm? Oh. Panucha, what's the FOIL for that? Panucha, are you there? Mm-hmm. Panucha, Sinu, Andrew, you know how to FOIL, right?
Is it
No,
x,
I don't.
is it x squared plus h squared plus 2xh?
Yep, so x squared plus 2xh plus what? H squared, right?
Yep.
If you doesn't know how to FOIL this, you are not in my class. You need to go and review. And the 3, I just, so FOIL this, and then later on, you have to FOIL this whole thing up. So, so once you FOIL the x plus h and x plus h, you get this, and then whatever you left, FOIL with x plus h. This one is even more difficult because this is a 3 terms, and this is a 2 terms. So when you FOIL it, you should have 6 terms. So when you FOIL, you take this x squared and you multiply by x. This is no square here. You use that 2. So you don't. So so when you multiply x squared with x, you will get x cubed. And then when you multiply x squared with h, you will get xh, x squared h. And then you multiply 2xh with x. This is going to be 2x squared h. And then 2xh times h, this is 2xh squared. H squared times x, this is xh squared. And h squared times h, this is h cubed. So this is, you count this, you should have 6 terms, and you can combine like terms here. So x cubed is by itself. This will give me 3x squared h. This will give me 3xh squared, and then h cubed. So this is just doing x plus h to the power of 3. And then the last thing you need to do is you have to take all this and multiply it by 3. And what we are calculating here, yeah, let's FOIL, yeah, yes. What we're calculating here is just for this one. Just a little piece of it. So this will give me 3x cubed plus 9x squared h, because I will multiply all this by 3, plus 9xh squared, and plus 3h cubed. Then this, I will distribute my negative 2 inside. So I get negative 2x minus 2h. So this is what the fx plus h. So this whole thing is just for him. And then we do the negative f of x. What is negative f of x? Negative f of x is you take f of x, and you take the negative of it. So when you put a negative of f of x means you take all this and you change your sign. That's what it is. So the negative f of x, this 3x cubed become negative 3x cubed. This negative 2x will become positive 2x. So this formula says that you take these two together. So you combine all these terms together and make it all over by h. And when you combine those two together, your 3x cubed will cancel. Your 2x will be canceled. So there are cancellation. And usually that is a hint that you get it right. It's because this f of x should be all canceled out with the fx plus h here. So if you find out there's nothing canceling here, something is wrong. So the leftovers, which is this, 9x squared h, 9x h squared, and 3h and minus 2h, if you find out they all have h terms on it. Yep. So when you finish canceling, you notice the leftover that you have here, they all have h term. So what you do is you can factor the h out. So when you factor the h out, you will get 9x squared plus 9xh plus 3h squared minus 2. So all this h, you take it out. And this h is divided by another h. So these two h's will cancel out. So your final answer in this case will be this. 9x squared plus 9xh plus 3h squared minus 2. Now, some students ask me why you guys are learning this one. The reason why you're learning this one is because in calculus, if you're going to calculus, this is called differentiation, which is very important. So, and again, this is going to be in your test, but as I mentioned, in your test, you don't do cube because cube is a pain to do it. We do square. Square is actually less work than cube. So make sure you guys know how to do this in your midterm, because this is in your coming up in your test one, the midterm, but easier. Okay, so your answer in this case is 9x squared plus something plus 9xh plus 3h squared minus 2. So very long answer. And it's very difficult because of the reason why this is difficult is because of a cube. Okay, so I would recommend you guys to this spring break watch this. This is called difference quotient. That's so you go to YouTube, search difference of quotient, and look at the one that has a square on it, and practice it because it's gonna be very important. Next we have is question 28. This is also difference of quotient, but it's not as important as 27. So it's given us that ft in this case is 1 over t minus 6. Ft minus f5 over by t minus 5. So this question does not ask us to find fx plus h and fx and h. This is asking us to do this. Now, ft is already known because ft is this this value, which is this function, which is t minus 6, 1 over t minus 6. So now we need to figure out what is f5. So f5 means you plug 5 to the t, you get yourself a -1. Okay. So what you do here is you just plug all of this inside here. So ft is this fellow, the function of t. So I put 1 over t minus 6 minus F5 we found out early on is a -1. And this is all over t minus 5. So this is actually a bit easier than the other one. So these two negative will become positive. So this is the tough part. Is this case. Does anyone here know how to simplify this? We call it as complex fraction. This is what you did. If you did 970, you guys did this in 970. Anyone know how to do this one? So ft is 1 over t minus 6, and that minus f5 is -1, and then t minus 5. Yep. So we have to simplify this. Anyone know how to do this? You have to change this as a fraction. So first you have to add this. So in order for you to add this, this one you can change into any number you want as long as the top and the bottom is the same. So for me, I will change this to become t minus 6. Does anyone know why I picked t minus 6? Not anything else? Why I picked t minus 6 here? Why not 6? Why not 3? Why t minus 6? The reason why is because it is the same as this denominator. So what you have in this case is t minus 6 because the denominator is the same. And then you add this, you get t minus 5. Because 1 plus -6 is -5. But in your denominator, you still have t minus 5. So what you need to do next is you take this t minus 5 over by t minus 6. This division will change to become multiply. Like, when you guys did fraction, when you have -1/2, you can always change it to multiply. What you do in this 1/2, you flip it. So this is the same thing. This is t minus 5 over 1. So if I want to change the division to become multiply, I flip this to become 1 t minus 5. So you notice that the t minus 5 is the same. You can cancel them out. So your answer in this case is 1 over t minus 6. So this is how we do question number 28, which is 1 over t minus 6. So make sure that this is what we call as difference of quotient. So for this, I really suggest you guys to practice. How do you practice this? Either you watch this video back, I think it's recorded. Yep, it's recorded. Or I recommend you to go to YouTube and search for difference quotient. Okay, so difference of quotient. So this is like, see, this is x squared. This is the one that I really want you guys to learn. It's the x squared one. So we don't do x cubed. So I would recommend you to watch this kind of difference of quotient. There's a lot of difference quotient, and they all are good. So like this also x squared. You see the x squared come up, and this is also x squared. So everything I think most of the example that you see here, they all are x squared. If you see something like a polynomial that have an x squared involved, watch it, learn how to do it. Okay, and then maybe try to do this one by your own. Okay, the x squared plus 6x plus. Once you finish watching this, try to do this question on your own, and then after that, watch that video and figure out if you get the right answer. Okay, so this is your spring break homework. Yep, and I told you difference of quotient is guaranteed coming out in your midterm, and it will look something like this, where you will have the x squared pops up. Anyone have any questions? Questions for me? So next we're gonna talk. So the next one that we have to do here is your 3 homework sections, which will be due not Wednesday. So I'm gonna change your due date here. So
yes, I have one more question.
Yes.
Number 30 on 2-1. Yeah.
On which ones? 2-2?
2-1.
2-1? Okay.
Yeah.
So number 20 on question 2-1.
No, number 30.
30, sorry, 30.
Yeah.
So question number 30 on 2-1. This one?
Yes.
So it says that the monthly salary is 4,000 plus a commission of 9% of sales. Write this in terms of W and S. So how do you write the monthly salary in terms of sales? If I say 4,000 plus a 9% of sales. How do you write 4,000 plus 9% of sales? How do you write that in the equation? 4,000
over
plus
9%
of sales. What's 9% of sales? Anyone?
sales.
0.09.
9% is 0.09 of sales. What's the meaning of sales? What's the meaning of the word?
From 100.
No. What's the meaning of it of?
9% of sales.
Go watch it. Do you watch it? Watch it. Very similar.
No.
Okay. Can you tell me how you do this one then? No. What's your answer here? 4,000 plus what?
0.09.
And what else? Of sales. S. Is this S a small s or capital S?
It looks small.
Look at this. Is your S is small or capital here? This S
Capital.
is capital, right?
Yeah, yes.
So you have to use capital S. If you use a small s, they will mark you wrong. So mostly all of this has a watch it symbol. So I recommend you to watch it because the question is very similar to what the watch is.
Okay.
So the next thing we're going to talk about here is your section 2, 3, 2, 4, and 2, 5. This 3 section actually I'm gonna postpone it to a little bit later on. So actually this homework 2, 3, 2, 4, and 2, 5 is used to be due on next Wednesday. It is moved to the week after that. That means that after spring break. So these 3 homeworks, you got 2 weeks to do it. You guys with me here? So 2, 4, 2, 5, and 2, 3, 2, 4, and 2, 5. So this week, today you got 2 homework due. Next week you got no homework. This is spring break, and we don't have class next Wednesday. We don't have any Zoom. So your 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5 homework is due on the following. So 2 weeks from now. So you have 2 weeks to do these 3 homework. So make sure you spend some time on it. So the next one we're going to talk about here is how we analyze the graph of functions. Yes, I will post some videos, so make sure you guys watch those videos. So the first thing they ask us to do this is to figure out what is the domain and range. Does anyone know what is domain and range stands for? Anyone? Domain range? Wow. So domain in this case is all the x values that you can have on the graph. So that means all the x values that you can exist. Our range is all the y values that you can have exist in the graph. So on the graph, when you find the domain, I always ask my students, how far left do you go? And then followed by how far right do you go? That is your domain. For range, I always call the students how far down the graph goes and how far up the graph goes. So this is how you figure out your domain and range. If you have a dot, means it's included, we will use a bracket. If you have an open circle, we will use a parenthesis. If it goes to the infinity, all infinities, we use parentheses. No matter it's a positive or negative infinity, we will use parentheses in this case. So if you look at this graph, what is the domain for this graph? So can someone tell me? Now, if you don't see this, means this has an arrow, means it keeps on going down. Okay, how far left do this graph goes? Based on this graph. Anyone? What's the domain for this case? How far left do we go here? Where do we stop? Does it graph cross at -4? -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. How far left do this graph goes?
-1.
-1. And since it is a closed circle, so is that bracket or parenthesis?
Bracket.
How far right does this graph go? Since this graph keeps on going infinite to to all the way down. So how far right does the graph goes?
Does it go infinity?
Yep. And infinity is always parentheses. So this is how you do your domain in this case. Range, how you do your range? Range, you do down first and then up. So how far down do this graph goes? The graph goes to -infinity because it just goes all the way down there. So make sure infinities, you use parentheses. How far up do this graph goes?
7.
7, yes. Goes all the way up to 7. Does that include or not include 7? Does it touch or not touch 7?
This is 7.
So it's include, so we use a bracket. Now, how do you put this in your homework here is, this is bracket, -1. Your infinity symbols, you have to go under symbol here, and then you click infinity, and then make sure you close your parentheses. Don't open. So make sure you have a set of opening a bracket and then parentheses. This is how you put this in your domain. Your range is parentheses -infinity to 7. So parentheses -infinity, again is under symbol, there's infinity symbol. And then 7, and then you put a bracket on it, bracket. So this is how you figure out your domain and range. How do you find f-1? So f-1 means that your x is -1. So if you look at here, x is -1 is this one. So f of -1 is asking for what is the y value when x is -1. So x is -1 is here. So what is the y value in this case? Your y value in this case is 4. Does anyone know how to do f1 in this case? Looking at your graph, can you tell me what is f1 is? That means when x is 1, what is the y value in this case? X is 1 here. So what is the y value in this case? It will be 6. Yes.
7, 6. Yeah.
Mhm. How about F2? F2? What is the y value for this case?
7,
And F3?
0.
0. Yep. So if you find out that if your y value is called is 0, this is called your x-intercept. Okay, that means that it crosses on your x-axis. Okay, so anytime when you get a number 0 here, means it's your x-intercept. Okay, sometimes in this class we call it as a 0. That's why you call it 0. All right, your turn. What is the domain and range for this graph? Again, this graph goes arrows. That means it keep on going down and keep on going down. So what is your domain and range? Yes, this is coming up in your midterm too. So make sure you know how to figure out your domain and range. And domain and range starting from this section onwards until you go to calculus, we're still going to talk about domain and range. So this is very important. Again, domain is how left this graph goes, how right this graph goes. Range is down, up. Make sure you go down and then up, then left and right for domain. Don't switch this around, because if you switch these two around, your answer is wrong. So anyone can tell me what is your domain in this case? How far left does this graph goes and how far right?
Between 1 and 2.
Don't forget, this keeps going to where? If I draw the graph, look something like this, what happened is this fellow will go what? Continuous going this way, right?
Mhm.
And this eventually go that way, right? So how far left does this graph goes? And how far right this graph goes? Ooh, you guys have no idea what to do this one? Anyone? What's the domain here? If you color this, can you tell me if you keep on coloring this at the end down there, where is this gonna color if you keep on doing it? What is this number will be? Anyone? Panucha? So this goes where? All the way to what? Negative infinity, and where this goes where? To positive infinity. So your domain in this case is from negative infinity to positive infinity. I'm worried about this class. It's like you guys doesn't know how to find your domain and range. What about range here? So if you color this way, how far down does it go and how far up does it go? Anyone for domain for range? How far down do we go here? Panucha, Andrew, Sino, Muna.
Infinity.
Yep, this will go to negative, not just infinity, it's a negative infinity. Because it goes all the way down. And where does it goes all the way up to? It goes all the way up till 1. So my question is, do we include or not include 1?
Include.
So we use parentheses or brackets in this case.
Use okay. Use include.
Include, I know. Is that using parentheses or bracket? Which
I
one?
think
The
it's
first one, the top one.
The top one. And make sure, because you have to close your bracket, not open. So this is how you do your range here. Can you guys, I think you can figure out what is f negative 2, right? This is easy, right? Can someone tell me what is f negative 2 based on this graph? This is f.
-2.
No. Negative what?
Tip infinity.
No, no, no. This is negative 2. What is the y value for negative 2?
Negative
-3.
3.
Negative 3. Yes.
Oh, negative 3.
So don't make sure you understand this one. And what is 1 is f1.
Okay.
Where's
0.
f1? 0, yes. I think you can do this. This is the one that the domain and range is the one that I think you guys need help more. Yep, this section is do domain and range. Vertical line test. What is a vertical line test? A vertical line test is to test if it's a function or not. So you draw all the vertical line, and if your graph touches your vertical line one time, then this is a function. What happens if I give you something like this? Is this a function or not?
No.
You can tell by drawing a vertical line, and this follow cross quite more than 1 point. So this is not a function. So can someone tell me, is this, using a vertical line test, is this a function or not?
It's a function.
This is a function because every time you draw a vertical line, it crosses at 1 point. How about this one? Is this a function?
No.
This is not a function because every vertical line you cross 2 points. This one?
No.
So it's easy to figure out is it function or not. You just draw. How about this one?
I'd say
So
yes.
this. So there is yes. So every time you draw a vertical line, it will cross at 1 point. Even here, when you draw the vertical line, a lot of students say, oh, it looks like it crossed a lot of points because this goes parallel. Actually, if you zoom into this area, it will only do 1 point. Okay, so that's the meaning of a vertical line test. Next, they ask you to find the zeros. What is finding zeros? This is very important. You will learn this in this chapter and chapter 3. Finding zeros means you have to find the x-intercept. And if you remember, when you do the x-intercept, which is this one, what happens to your y value? All your x-intercept, if you look at all your x-intercept, what happens to your y value? All your y value should be what? Should be 0. So in order for us to find the 0 or the x-intercept in this case, you put y equals to 0. But since this is a function, so you just put f of x equals to 0. So for question number 10, in order for us to find the 0 for this case, you put 0 equals to 3x squared plus 10x minus 8, and you have to solve for x here. So you put the f of x becomes 0. Can someone tell me how you solve for x in question 10?
Plus 8 to both sides.
No, because it's a square here.
Oh wait, no, you
So if you don't have the square, then yes, you do like what C says. You just plus 8 and then you divide by 10 and so on. But since there is x squared involved, so what you do?
Okay.
You have to factor it. Factor is the opposite of FOILing. And if you take 970, you should know how to factor this. Anyone know how to factor this one?
Yes. Okay.
Because you got a 3 in front, you have to do the AC method. A times C is what? Negative 24. And you need to give me a combination. What times what is negative 24, but when you add it, it becomes 10. Anyone know what times what is 24? Negative 20.
6 times 3.
6 times 4, not 6 times
4.
3.
3.
Unfortunately, 6 and 4, to make 10, they're all positive, right? Positive 6 and positive 4 will give us positive 10. Unfortunately, this 6 and 4 pair does not work. Anyone know why it does not work?
Because it doesn't make negative 24.
Yep, because 6 times 4 is positive 24, but we need negative 24.
Negative.
So can you give me another pair that you multiply, you get 24, negative 24, but when you add, you get 10.
Negative 12 and or positive
12 and 2. Yep, so it's positive 12 and
Minus 2.
2. Because when you add this, it's 10, but when you multiply this, you get negative 24. So what happens in this case that you will get 3x squared. This 10x will break into 2, become positive 12x minus 2x minus 8. So what do I do is this 10x will break into these two numbers, and this two number comes from this AC. And so what happening here is your 3 terms will make it become 4 terms. And in order for us to do 4 terms factoring, we do grouping. So what can you factor out in between these two?
3x.
3x. So you will get x plus 4. Then you do the same thing on this. What can you factor out on this 2? The last 2?
Negative.
Negative 2. And what you get?
X plus 4.
Also x plus 4. So when you guys do grouping, these two have to be the same. If you didn't get the same, something is wrong. You have to redo it again. So what is the factor in this case is x plus 4, which is the one that has in both of this. The leftovers, the 3x and minus 2 will goes in here. Can someone solve for x here? What is x in this case? Don't forget, this is equal to 0.
X is negative 4.
And x in this case?
2 over 3.
Yep. So your answer in this case will be negative 4 and 2/3. So this is how you put your answer here. Negative 4, 2/3. Comma. Make sure you put a comma. Okay. What about question? Let's do 12 first. So you again, in order for you to find a 0, you put a 0 in here. How many terms you see here? There are 4 terms, right? So in order for us to do 4 terms, you have to factor this again. And how do we factor this? Same thing as what you did over here. So I want you guys to go ahead and factor question 12. Break this into 2, and what we did over here. Find what is in common here and what's in common here. And then your answer should be a factor. Go ahead and do this. You need to know how to do factoring. This is what you learn in 970. If he doesn't know how to factor, you're gonna have a hard time in my class.
Exponent x.
Panucha, what do you say? X cubed minus 3x squared minus 16x plus 48. This is the correct.
Exponent x.
Panucha, what you say?
Exponent x.
X. What can you factor out here? Anisha?
Exponent exponent x.
X to the power of what?
This is
Anisha?
exponent x.
X squared.
I don't know what you mean by that.
I mean exponent x
X to the power of what?
power 2.
Power 2, yes. Can you say X power 2?
Yeah.
Oh, X power 2. And what you get when you factor X?
X minus 3.
Okay. How about this one? Because of a negative, you have to factor the negative.
Negative.
Negative what?
Negative 3.
Nope, 3 is not good. That's a number that's 16 cannot go into 3.
Okay. I forgot.
Anyone?
You can factor out 16.
Yes, 16. And what happens when you factor out negative 16? Not 16, negative 16, or you get what?
X minus 3.
Minus 3.
Yep, again, these two, as I mentioned, has to be the same. So what's a factor in this case? X minus 3 and x squared minus 16. But can we still factor x squared minus 16?
Yes.
Because they are perfect square. So what is the factor for x squared minus 16?
X plus 4, X minus 4.
Yep. So the factor in this case will be x plus 4 and x minus 4 and x minus 3. And you have to make all these equals to 0. So how many answers do we have in this question 12? You will have 3 answers. The answers are what? Anyone? What is your answer?
Negative 4,
Negative 4.
4, and 3.
So negative 3.
No, this is positive 3. You make it equal to 0. So once you make it equal to 0, you have to move the negative to become positive. So your answer in this case is 4, negative 4, and 3. And it the order is not important. Okay, you do not need to arrange from small to big. So I do this sort of so make sure that make sure you know how to this is the main part, is know how to factor this. For this question number 11, in order for us to find the 0, so how do we do question number 11 if you have a fraction here? 0 equals to x squared minus 13x plus 40 over by 3x. So the first thing is because of it has a denominator, so I multiply 3x on both sides and it has to make it equal to 0. So this 3x will cancel out. Does anyone know what is 0 times 3x? It becomes 0. Anything multiplied by 0, you get 0. But what you have in this case is x squared minus 13x plus 40. So this one also needs to factor. But this factor is not the same as number 10 because this number in front is 1. So if you get a 1 or a 1 or nothing in front, means your factor is easy. But if you have any number like 2, 3, negative 4, whatever number in front, your factoring will be the one that we just do the AC method. So this one you can direct factor x and x. Can someone tell me what times what is 40? But again, when you add them, it's negative 13. Anyone?
Okay.
Negative 5 or negative 7?
Negative 8.
Oh yeah, negative 8.
So 5 and 8 multiply, negative 5 and negative 8 when you multiply will give us positive 40. But when you add this, you get negative 13. So this is negative 5, x minus 5, and x minus 8. So you do not need to do, so this factor is called an easy factor. You do not need to do the grouping, that cut into half and do all those things. So can someone tell me what is x answer in this case?
Second.
5
Mhm.
and
8.
8. Not negative. You have to make all this equals to 0, Muna. You have to make this equals to 0. You move the, so x in this case is 5 and 8.
5. Okay.
Same thing happens to question number 13. So 0 equals to square root of 4x plus 3. And you have to solve for x. So how do we get rid of this square root? Anyone know what's the opposite of square root? How do we get rid of the square root? You square both sides. So the square and the square root will cancel. So what you get here is 4x plus 3. And since 0 squared is 0, so this one is going to be easy solving. You do not need to factor because there's no square. So anyone know what's answer here for question 13? You know how to solve this one, right?
Mm.
What do you get? Hello, this is easy.
Negative 3
Over
and 4.
4, right? So in this case, your answer is negative 3 over 4. So this is how you do this kind of questions. So what you do is put f of x equals to 0 and try to solve for x. If you have x squared or x cubed, you have to factor it. If you have only x1, then you just solve as usual. Next we talk about is increasing, decreasing, and constant. So what happened is if you have a graph, if you read the graph from left to right, so let's say I give you something like this. This is increasing because it goes up. This is decreasing, it goes down. And this is constant. In order for us to find which one is increasing, which one is decreasing, you look at your x values. Okay. So for example, that let's say this is it. Let's say this x value is negative 5, 3. So can someone tell me what is the increasing domain? It goes from
Negative 5.
to, sorry, let's say right here, sorry. This is 3, sorry about that.
3. Yeah.
So your answer in this case for the increasing is from how do you write this? Parentheses negative 5, parentheses 3. And a lot of students say, wait a minute, David, you put a dot here. And if I remember dot, we use bracket, right? Not for increasing, decreasing constant. Every time when you do increasing, decreasing constant, you use parentheses, regardless of if you touch or non-touch or open circle or closed circle or whatever you have. So every time when you do increase, decrease constant, you have to use parentheses. What is the decrease here? Let's say this is 6. So the decrease is from where? 3 to
From 3 to 6.
6. And the constant goes from where? 6 to
Infinity.
infinity. Yes. So this is the meaning of increase, decrease constant. So they all look at your x. Make sure you look at your x value. The y value, we don't look at it. Okay. So by looking at this graph, can you tell me where is the increasing and where is the decreasing?
Decreasing 6 and
So this
And
is
6.
decreasing, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, you go what?
Increasing.
Increase. Do we have any constant here? Do you have any constant in this case?
No.
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 Constant means a flat line. So can someone tell me what is the increasing domain here? This one.
32.
Again, you have to use your x value.
Mhm.
So what is the x value that you have here?
Negative
Negative
6.
36.
No. The x value here is what?
Negative 36.
Negative.
That's your y.
Y.
Well, I don't want y. I told you, right? I don't look
It's-
at your y. I look at your x. What's the x value here?
Negative.
Six.
Oh,
Yes,
6, 6,
six.
6, 6.
The whole negative.
6.
6.
6.
So can someone tell me what is the increase here?
3.
It goes from where to where?
3.
Where's,
we
where
don't
you
know.
get 3? We don't get 3.
We don't know infinity.
What is this this is where you start increasing, right?
Uh-huh.
So what is this x value here?
12.
Is 6 to what?
3 or 4?
Infinity. Where you get 3 and 4? I don't get 3 and 4 is right here. Do you see that? This is the one I'm talking about, right?
6. Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it.
So
got
this is starting at 6 and where it goes to infinity. So the increasing in this case will be 6 to infinity. Can you tell me what is the decreasing part?
6.
This is decreasing,
Negative.
right? Negative what?
Negative 1.
No, don't forget
Oh,
this
no,
graph
negative
keeps on,
infinity.
yes, don't forget this graph keeps on going. So it's negative infinity to what?
And negative 36.
Again, I'm looking at your x. I'm not looking at your y.
Oh, okay, okay.
This is what students get wrong because they look at the y. Always look at your x. You're asking for domain,
Oh,
It's a 6.
and they always have x. So it goes to 6, right?
6, yeah.
Because that's where you end. And for constant, because there is no constant, so if it's no constant, you put DNE here.
Okay.
So this is how we do your interval of increasing, decreasing, and constant. So make sure you look at your graph and figure out, class, is this increasing or decreasing or constant here?
it is decreasing.
Decreasing?
Increasing.
No, again, read the graph from left to right.
Okay.
It's decreasing.
Decreasing.
So can you tell me what is this domain is?
I think it's
Domain is this x. Look at your x. So what x value can this take?
negative 5.
But that's the highest one. What is the smallest one?
It is negative.
0.
0 is here.
Yeah.
This keeps going where?
I don't know. It's negative infinity.
Yes. Negative infinity to what?
This is
Negative.
negative 5.
Yes. How about this line?
5.
That increase or constant?
Increase.
Increasing.
Increase. And increasing from what domain?
5.
To where?
Infinity.
Infinity.
Yep. Do we have a constant here?
No.
And in your homework, what do you put if you say no?
DNE.
DNE.
All caps. You should put all capital. Okay. You guys all right?
Yeah.
Go home and practice. Okay. Now, how do you graph this kind of function? In order for you to graph this kind of function, you just need to plug in numbers. So f of x is given us by x squared minus 4x. So what you do here is you plug in all the x, give me like 4 numbers. What usually we pick 0. Can you give me another few numbers to plug in here?
1,
1. What else?
2 and 3.
2 and
0.
3.
that. Don't use all positive, so make sure you use some negative
Negative.
number too.
Oh, okay.
Okay, don't use all 0, 1, 2, 3. Use some negative number too. So first thing is you plug 0 inside here. What do you get when you plug 0 inside?
0.
0. So that means your graph will have 0, 0. Now plug 1 in here. What do you get?
Negative 4.
No.
Negative 3.
So when you have x is 1, this is at negative 3.
Mhm.
Plug 2 in here. What do you get?
Negative 4.
So you will get negative 4. Plug negative 1 in here. What do you get?
Negative 3.
Negative 3.
No. Plug negative 1. So this is negative 1 squared minus 4 times negative 1, which is what?
Okay, 3.
No.
5.
5.
Oh, 5. Okay.
So this will go up to 5. Now, this is not enough point because as you know that when you have an x squared, your graph is a parabola, it's a U shape like this, but you don't see any turning point because this is a straight line. So what you do here is you might have to extend a little bit. Let's try 3, what you get. Let's put 3 here. What do you get when you put 3 in there?
-3.
So now we know that when x is 3, your y is negative 3. So now we know that it's a turning point. So this is your graph. So that's why when you see x squared, your graph is a parabola. So make sure that your graph have a turning point, so it turns back up. So which graph in this case looks like him? A, B, C, or D?
Should be C.
Should be this one, right? And then the graph is asking for what interval for f of x greater than or equals to 0. See right here? So what's the meaning when I ask for f of x is greater than or equals to 0? When I say greater than, 0 means it's positive. So that means that this stands for the graph that is above the x-axis. So if you look at this part is above your x-axis, right? And this part is above your x-axis. So if you look at this, which is this line and this line, we know this is 0. Can someone tell me what is this number is? Anyone know what is this
It's
number
4.
is? It's 4. So can someone tell me what is the interval notation for this case, for your domain?
Negative infinity.
2, right at 0.
0.
Now, because that is an equal sign here, so you have to use a bracket. So this is not asking for increasing or decreasing. That's why the previous one we do increase, we use parentheses, but this time because there is an equal sign involved, so use bracket. Can someone tell me what is this one is? It goes from
4.
to,
Infinity.
and then you have to put a union sign on it. So this is the answer for this question. So how do you write this? Parentheses, negative infinity, which is under the symbol, you got an infinity. And then this is 0 with a bracket. Now the union symbol, do not use capital U. If you use capital U, you get it wrong. So you have to go under set. You see the U over here. So that is the one that we use for the union piece. Okay. And then 4 to infinity, 4 is bracket, and then infinity is the symbol. And then you put parentheses on. Oops, sorry, parentheses. I get all these things. So it's a lot of typing involved. So make sure you know how to type it out correctly, where you spend a bit more time actually typing than writing it out. Anyone have any questions?
0 greater 16.
The rest I recommend, please watch it. If you have any questions, I recommend you to watch it. Okay. Next is even, odd, or neither. So what happens to so if you have even is actually symmetry with the y-axis. Okay, so if you answer even, automatically is symmetry with the y-axis. How do you know your function is even? Is you substitute your x to become negative x, you get back your original function. Then we know it is even function. Odd function is always symmetrical with the origin, O. So if you pick odd, automatically symmetrical origin. What happens when you, how do you figure out is you put negative x, you will get negative of your original function. So that means your function is all, when I say negative in the original function, it means that all your sign change. And if you don't have this, then you pick neither. Okay. So for example, question number 19 here. So in order for you to figure out are they even or odds, what you do here is you substitute your x to become negative x. So this x will become negative x to the power of 6 minus 2. Again, your x will become negative x to the square plus 7. Can someone tell me what happens when you have an x, negative x to the power of 6? This is the same thing as negative x times negative x 6 times, right? So what happens to your sign when you multiply it 6 times? Do you get negative or do you get positive?
Positive.
So this is positive x6. Same thing, what happens when you multiply this negative x twice?
Positive.
So you get positive. And negative 2 times positive, this is negative 2x squared. And then this is plus 7. So if you look at this f of negative s that you find, and you compare it with your original function, this is an original function, is this the same or is this the sign change, or the sign changes? These two are
The same.
exactly the
Same.
same. So if they are exactly the same, then it is even. So your answer in this case is even. If it's even, it's always symmetry to the y-axis. You guys all right?
Yeah.
It has to be same in order to do that. Now, if you look at question number 20, this is g of x of that. So now we do g of negative x. So what you do here is you replace all the x to become negative x. So does anyone know what is negative x times negative x times negative x? 3 times.
Negative x
Cube, right?
power 3.
And what is negative 9 times negative x?
Positive 9x.
So now this is the, compare this one with the original function you have. Are they exactly the same? Compare this one and the green one. Is that exactly the same? No,
No.
because it's not. Is the original one, is the all the sign change? See, x cubed, this become what? Negative x cubed, right? Negative 9x, this become what? Positive 9x. There's a sign all changes. Yes. So what is this kind of function called? This function is called odd, and it's always have an origin symmetry. You guys all right here? Okay. So make sure you guys understand that if they're exactly the same, it's even. If the sign changes, all your sign changes from positive, negative, negative, positive, if you compare it, then it's odd. If it's neither of this, then your answer is neither. Okay. So I would really recommend recommend you to do this. This is very important. We will talk this when you got 2 weeks to do your homework. So your homework is actually has 3 sections. So your homework is 2.3, which is the one that we just did just now, 2.4 and 2.5. So I would recommend you to watch the videos. I think I post something on YouTube on the D2L. I have some videos that is from the old semesters. I would really recommend you guys to watch it. So I will post it later on today, like 3 o'clock. So when you go to the D2L website, so there are some videos in there that is from my previous Zoom, which I have a bit more time to teach that time. So so if you look at this video Zoom is for 2.1 and 2.2. So if you click on this is my old video Zoom that I have from last time. If you need, so I will post the one that for 2.3 and 2.4 and 2.5. So you will see it right over here. The video Zoom is 2.3, 2.4, and 2.5. I would recommend you to watch these videos because it's gonna help you. And then if you need help, there are videos coming from the textbook. So let's say this is 2.2, this is from your ebook. So if you click on this, it is the chapter 2.1. These are how you do it. So let's say you doesn't know how to do 2.4, so you just go chapter 2, section 4, and they will show you how to graph a linear and square root. So you just watch this video, and this is from your textbook actually. So you can watch this video, how do we draw that and stuff like that. So I would recommend you to do this class. Make sure you 2.3, 2.4, 2.5 is a one. 2.5 is a very difficult one, so I would recommend you guys to concentrate more on 2.5 because that is the one that we'll be using a lot in this class. So make sure you watch the videos that I posted here. You got 2 weeks to do your homework questions. Does anyone have any questions for me before we stop?